This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
What is the use of a house for conversations if you haven't got a favorable climate to discuss it from? Naggalama's tutor is my name, St.Mark'S College, Namagoma. My dear judges, I'm very disappointed with today's team negative that are coming out and telling us that they're going to center more on the international conversations and telling us that they're asking us that, can you eliminate a problem that's affecting everyone by centering on only one perspective? And my dear judges, we come out to inform them that these international conversations have been in place and they've been failing out just because of the implementation strategies, whereby they are coming up with more strategies of their international policies and they are failing to work out because they are domestic policies as well. As for us, we are coming out to you that we are going to strengthen the implementation of the already existing domestic policies. What do we mean, our dear judges? We are going back to the grassroots to access our own domestic points, find out what is exactly wrong with them, why are they working at a slow rate. After finding out that, my dear judges, that's when we are going to come out and tell ourselves that now this is where the problem is coming from. After accessing where the problem is, then we shall start seeing how better to strengthen the implementation. Go back to all. What's the problem? Is it corruption? Is it embezzlement? And after finding out, my dear judges, we come and see how best to boost the working process, which team negatives is not considering, whereby they are just saying they are going to consider going for conversation. My dear judges, if you look at this, even if they go for these conversations and come back with other more policies from their conversations, they will not work out, because if the domestic ones are working at a slow rate and they've failed to first access their problem, they're going in for more and more conversation to accumulate more policies. What are we going to achieve from this, my dear judges? That's why we are saying let us first access our own domestic ones. Let us first understand why are they working slowly. Then after that, we shall come and see, rejected, we shall come and see how better. And we told you we are focusing, not ignoring totally the international conversation. Our first priority is we are going to first focus on our own domestic policies, because, my dear judges, there will be no improvement if at all every country does not come out to do what they are supposed to do. They are telling us international conversations, but rejected. They are telling us international conversations, but these international conversations are based on voluntary compliance. I have the mobility to say, I'm not going to comply what you're going to say. Let us take a case study of the POI, of the rejected Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. My dear judges, despite being a signatory to the Paris Agreement, Libya has failed to submit any national plans for mitigating and adapting to climate change. Why so? Because of the implementation strategies. They don't know how to implement these policies they get from the international conversations. As if that's not enough, let us talk about what happened in Copenhagen 15 years back. These so-called conversations they're running to, these developed countries pledged to give us US billions, 100 in 2009, but up to date, my dear judges, we are not saying anything, and you're going back to the same people. We cannot trust you again. My dear judges, we are telling you, let us first come back. As we are telling you, you're going for conversations, my dear judges. There's what we call the veto countries. Talk about Russia, talk about USA. My dear judges, this kind of veto countries, my dear judges, we are not at the same level. You may come, your problem is climate change. Someone's problem is something like carbon dioxide accumulation. You have different problems. You have also failed to understand what's wrong with your own country. You're accumulating problems by the end of that day. First, understand yourself. Organize your homeland. Before you go in mining about other people's homelands, first organize yourself. My dear judges, I think that's not enough. Let us talk more about what we told you, that we are going to say that we are going to, first of all, we are going to adapt to the changing environment, because it's a global problem, my dear judges. It's changing day by day. We should not just go and discuss. We have to first adopt, and after adopting, go back to the root, strengthen the implementation of the already existing policies, my dear judges.
August House, clearly in an attempt to focus on one thing, the affirmatives have neglected the importance of international conversations. First and foremost, the way they address this August House has clearly shown that they have failed to see the issue of climate change as an international and a global concern. They talk of implementation of already existing policies. Our question is, how have different nations implemented the policies that they have? Have we seen it being effective in their attempts to implement the policies that exist? First and foremost, implementation needs funds. They have not given us any kind of source of funds. Yet we are telling them that international conversations are a platform where funds are got, because we have contributions from different nations which are developed. We ask ourselves, they do claim that policies that are made in international conversations do not work. August House House, this is because the team affirmatives are uninformed and they do not know the procedures taken in international conversations. We are saying international conversations do not only come up with policies that concern all nations, but in our strategy as the team negators, we say that they do draw plans, that these international conversations come together and they work and collaborate to support countries in formulating of robust and ambitious national adaptation plans in line with the international plan that we have. They draw plans for each and every country, basing on their circumstances, basing on their capabilities in terms of the economy. However, these policies that these nations make, don't we clearly know that the policies that these nations are making are ineffective because they look at their low economy? Yet we are giving nations a platform to come together and make policies that are strong, at the same time give them financial backup. We are talking about the COP, which is being financed by the World Bank, 40 billion annually. We are talking about international conversations which are being supported by multilateral development banks. That is according to the official website of the United Nations Forum on Climate Change Convention. August House, we continue to make a claim. We compare the amount of global warming and climate change caused by developing countries and that of developed countries. We look at the fact that developed countries contribute a half of the global warming that we have and climate change issues. And we look at the fact that developing countries contribute very minute. Now, how will running back to national policies of developing countries help to solve the problem of climate change as a global concern? This is a very small percentage. However, we are saying that if developing countries and developed countries come together in an international platform where they look at this issue as a global concern and come up with measures that can work for both countries and both economies, this is the only way we can address this issue as a global concern. August House, we should not forget that united we stand, divided we fall. A problem facing us internationally, we cannot address it as minute organs. Accepted.
What is your source of information that these developing countries...
Clearly, I said my sources of information were from United Nations Forum on Climate Change Convention. First of all, we gave our parameters, the world, and we did not listen to any of their parameters. That is a failure in their side. We continue to say that if we make policies that can be agreed internationally and policies that can work and be effective, denied. Policies that can be worked on and can be effective. Why not run for such policies instead of giving our aim in an area where it is directionless? August House, agree when we say that currently we have questions for the affirmatives. One, are the policies that are done by developing countries scaled up and effective to battle climate change as a global concern, yet they are drawn with a narrow technological support? Two, can developing countries, most of which are under a deficit budget, place climate change policies as national objectives? Three, currently each developing country has national and domestic policies.
This is the High School Crossfire. We'll be back in a minute.